So all connect. All right, folks, thank you very much for being patient. Sorry, we had a technical glitch, so we had to get that all fixed up before we started today's meeting. So I will call today, Monday, February 22nd, 2021, regular council meeting to order. And let's jump right in. Are there any added items? Councillor Overwater.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I would like to add under FOIP, I guess, section 25, disclosure harmful to economic and other interests of a public body. I have two things there. Sorry, it's under closed section. Yeah. Closed
session. Okay, so we'll do that at the end.
Yeah.
Section 25 times 2.
Yeah.
Excellent. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to add probably 6E, new business, Canadian Urban Institute.
Okay, perfect. Mr. Merritt, you're on mute, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to move 6D to 6A. It's Council Policy 120C, Public Art, and it follows after the bylaw in regards to murals, so they're closely connected.
Okay.
That's why I'd like to move it up.
Okay. Well, so we want Council Policy 120C first?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Anybody else with an addition or a change? Sorry, everybody's kind of scattered on my screen, so bear with me. It doesn't look like there's any hands up, so I'd entertain a motion to accept today's agenda as amended. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that we accept the regular council agenda for February 22nd, 2021 as amended.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor and opposed. That motion is carried. All righty, let's move right along to adoption of previous minutes. May I have a motion? Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the minutes from the February 8th, 2021 regular council meeting be adopted as presented.
Excellent. Comments, questions, errors, or omissions on that one? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor and opposed. And that motion is carried. All right, let's keep moving right along. We have presentations and delegations. Item 3A, CAO, would you care to introduce?
Yes, I believe we have Brian Powell with us today, and he will give us an update of the ICP actions over the past few weeks. So with no further ado, I'll ask Mr. Powell to present.
Director Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Merritt. Your Worship, just a thumbs up with a sound check. Everybody hear me okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, no, it's been a very promising last couple weeks where we are resuming back to some normalcy with our incident management team, getting back to our annual updates of our ERP, and you'll see that shortly. The other piece is that the news pieces with the update are looking very promising for the community as they are essentially mirroring the balance of the province. So with that in our presentation piece in here, Olds is sitting as of February 18th at just a count of 2. With the county a balance of 10, with fairly light and again mirroring what the province is looking at with overall case counts. Activities for our group essentially is looking at the monitoring the overall package and how we're doing. Also looking at retracting our ICP, and we'll give you a forewarning now that we're looking at our last sit rep for an ICP as of next Tuesday. However, we're not going anywhere. You're just going to see the incident management team continue with our regular bi-weekly updates as you've requested. So with that, it's just back to business as usual for our operation, as it is for a balance of the other camps in our organization. Our last couple ICPs have been in attendance, town staff attendance of 7, that retracted down from 14. And again, next week we will resume just to DEM, DDEM, and 2 DDEMs and planning and going forward following this next week. Communications is working on focusing on some business reopening and information, and providing whatever information we have available with regards to grants or availabilities or assistance is being forwarded as an objective for communications. Liaison has been working specifically on our target groups as they have been weekly. That'll retract to bi-weekly, and happy to report that everyone is working very well. Capacity at the hospital is strong. No cases at the college, and as of last sit rep, again, this data is 6 days old. Sundial had no reported cases, but I believe a couple isolations as a precaution. Same with our seniors lodges, and staying fairly healthy as well. Municipal enforcement is reporting strong compliance locally. RCMP and municipal enforcement is also mentioning similar identifications there. ESS is working on monitoring the situation, and basically working with a variety of reopening strategies that can help and assist with public as well. Public Works, the unsung heroes, again, business is normal, and we want to say that I mentioned that this morning, is just because it's business as normal, it isn't business as normal. They've been working very hard to not make the radar and to not make the headlines, and they're still practicing isolation. They're still doing good at-home practices of maintaining healthy, and if you're feeling ill, you stay home. And so my hat goes off to all the public work individuals with the community of Olds to do what they're doing there. Fire, again, is utilizing base space for majority of the training, and then working outside in smaller work groups. There are challenges, of course, when the pagers go off, of course, but they're working hard to try and maintain those exposures and cross exposures. Chiefs, deputies try not to be face to face, and stay as distant as they can. Planning is working towards assistance with going forward after the retraction of the ICP, is to work with the business continuity plan, and working with reentry strategies and assistance with whatever assistance is available for economic revitalization and economic development, whatever role that planning with the incident command management team can play. We will leverage our position and try to assist wherever we can. Logistics remains strong. Mr. Fox wears a variety of hats. I think I saw his face trying to troubleshoot a computer not too long ago. And in addition to that, he's making sure our PPE supply is in check. And it's off the corner of his desk, but it's always saying he's good, but he makes that job look easy, that's for sure. And of course, finance are very quiet, but if we missed anything, Sheena is very quick to identify when we have. So far, so good. Everything looks fairly solid. And going forward from that of a ICP, once we do, we're going to work towards our after action review and have all those pieces together to see where our costs fell, where costs were identified related to the operation of the ICP. So this is a slide that you've seen sometime before. Recovery plan that was put together. A lot of time and energy and effort kind of went with this to look what works for Olds. And we had this in place with the spring. It does exist again, and so it's ongoing. And basically, this is a live, moving target, and we continue to revamp and revitalize if it's ever needed. And we will work with what is working and what isn't, and abandon what is not working and move forward. And this is where you're going to see the incident management team play a little bit more stronger role with that piece going forward into assisting where, excuse me, I like to use the term leveraging the incident management team and its connections with AEMA and to expedite any type of recovery efforts that may be around or available for us. Again, there's our recovery objectives, business support, facilities. Again, Mr. Wagstaff will touch a little bit more on facilities and challenges he's facing. There's audibles appearing daily with regards to opening facilities as well. And just some highlights, overviews, the economic resilience, the development permit waiver, you had some discussions about that, and then employee support. And so there was a lot of overall positive traction on the last COVID-related employee survey. And the discussion going forward is another one will be happening soon. But I think it'd be very important that follow up and discussion and lessons learned from the last one will be very important to bring forward as well. From that's the short and sweet. Won't want to take too much of your time and leave it for some questions.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Director Powell. I see, not sure who had their hand up first, but I see Councillor Overwater will go first, then Councillor Blatz. And would you care to start with a motion, please?
Sure. As I find it. Thank you, Worship. Yes, I move that Council accept the emergency management presentation on COVID-19 as information. My question is on page 15 of our agenda at the top, where it talks about temporary ad hoc committee, and then the second bullet, comprised of key stakeholders and administratively led, with recommended to include a member of council. Was the mayor on that, or we haven't determined that somebody from the member of council would be on there? I would think that the mayor would be on there, but.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to give a reference to the, I don't have the agenda in front of me, I have the presentation, so I was just wondering.
Okay. It's your presentation, I believe is page 7.
Okay. Okay, so basically, I guess I'll give this to Mr. Merritt and see what was decided on the involvement, because this was right in between, or Mr. Chant could perhaps answer this as well on that committee.
I'll speak to that. Yes, basically, we haven't got to that point at this time, Brian. The COVID-19 hasn't really relented, as you say. We have had peaks and valleys, but we're still in the midst of the 2019, the COVID-19 pandemic. And thankfully, we seem to be at a bit more relaxed mode at this point in time with the case numbers down, but they could rise at any point in time. So we held off on the lessons learned document to that degree, but at some point in time, and we have not determined who would be sitting from council, but I would say that the mayor would be a good choice.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Merritt.
Thank you.
Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Your Worship. Going back to our facilities and our business and our business recovery objectives and information sharing, did you know, is great. But I did happen to notice today on our webpage that we, under our COVID tab, that we are still stating restaurants are closed. And I believe, are not all restaurants open, Director Powell, for limited capacity under the AHS rules and regulations, but are they not open?
You're absolutely right. They're permitted to be open there. So that's an oversight. I believe they'll have to be amended. And there's an update happening as we speak on that. We talked
Okay.
about that this morning.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. I was just on there just this morning, actually, looking for something else and just noted that. So I appreciate
Okay,
it. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Any further questions for Director Powell? Councillor Ryan?
Thank you, Your Worship. No questions, just maybe a small update from the standpoint of the Mountain View Seniors Housing. Just to let council know that our seniors at our lodge, Mountain View Lodge, will be getting their first round of vaccinations this Friday scheduled.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Councillor Thompson?
Sorry for the delay, Your Worship. I'm wondering if we'll at any point receive any feedback from our community services agencies or business. I recognize that we're doing that our team is reaching out and connecting with them. Are there any needs that are being identified? Is there anything that we should be considering as council? I appreciate Ryan's report every couple of weeks and all the knowledge he brings. I just wonder if there's anything more we can be doing in those spaces.
Yeah, a very good question. And so far, there's a couple of things that we've identified, and Mr. Wright has basically worked with Chamber on that. There's a tremendous thirst for knowledge and interpretation of what's available in grants. I understand there's a lot of ranging from large corporations down to mom and pop operations, and there's quite an understanding of how these types of application pieces work. And so the Chamber's been doing a remarkable job of actually providing the guidance, interpretation, and where to find those, in addition with our community group as well, with Mr. Wright and his folks, of finding those answers as quick as best as possible. The other piece is just basically what's next. You know, how is the province going to continually unfold that? And that's a crystal ball that we just, you know, that added with the anxiety in there leads to some frustration at that level. Those are two identified pieces that we know of so far. And again, that's important that we come back and bring this to you. And when we have those high level points, we'll bring them to you and have those discussion pieces going forward.
Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Director Powell. Councillor Harper?
There. Thank you very much. Through you to Director Powell. So you've indicated that the ICP is going to transition down to just a couple people, and you're going to be doing sort of like a recap report. So, and I don't want to be a pessimist. I want to be an optimist, but I'll be the pessimist right now. So at what point do we have to again initiate the ICP? Would it be at a certain number of COVID cases in OLS when it reaches a certain number, or what? Hoping that we never go that far again.
Yeah, that's a very good question. And so what precipitated the last event was the rate of climb around us, not specifically our region. And so it'll be that as a variety of other factors. But Olds was very much a very dangerous threshold, and we were already at what the province identified as the dangerous threshold when we hit our 10, and then we migrated into those 30 cases really quickly. And so when we see local cases extend at or beyond that 10, there's in all likelihood a chance of a re-resurrection of an ICP again. I guess the next times around are a little easier for us. We've walked those paths, so to speak. People know their roles and what it is they're supposed to do. The province provides us some great guidance on offering those suggestions on where those other, and I do believe you had asked the question when we resurrected the ICP in December. how many other communities in Alberta were at that threshold, and we weren't alone, and we weren't forging ahead and firing up that ICP at that time as well. So to best answer that question as one of the thresholds, it could be a variety of others, not unlike specific key members of our management teams, the Town of Olds staff, or whether it be ICP or a specific agency like fire, for example. We already have auto activations in place if the fire department, for example, goes down. It automatically launches a formation of an ICP. So difficult question to answer, but that would be a couple of examples as to when that would resurrect.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Director Powell. Councillor Overwater.
Thank you, Worship. No, not unless I missed it. Do we have any variant cases in Olds, or are we still sheltered from that?
I don't have that answer, I'm afraid. I'm not sure whether we would even be provided that answer if it was known.
Oh, that would be interesting that we wouldn't be provided with that.
The most specific information I've seen on the AHS website is just the central zone.
Oh.
Down to zones as opposed
Yeah.
to specific municipalities.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was wondering if we could hear from Director Wagstaff on how the Good Neighbors program is working right now, and what's happening with them. What are they doing?
Director Wagstaff.
Well, one of the things that you have seen active with the Great Neighbors program is some virtual interactions and creating those opportunities for our community to still stay active, but in a different manner. The other part is, finding Oliver. Oliver Olds has been out on the trail system and been moving around, and we've been promoting people to get out, get some light exercise, get some fresh air, see the community. And things like that. So those are the types of programming that they've shifted to do to keep people active, keep people connected. And that's been the focus as of late, to still be able to do things, encouraging our community, but also still being COVID friendly.
Excellent, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Just from my end, not really a question, more a statement. Thank you to Director Andrew and your crew at the fire department for the reflood. I know that was quite well was a good thing for our community to get those kids out on those rinks, and your efforts there are very much appreciated. Thank you. All right, so I do have a motion on the table. I don't see any more hands for any more questions or comments. So at this point, I'll call a vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that motion is carried. Thank you very much, everybody. Let's move right along. CAO, are we going right back to Director Powell for item 3B?
No, I believe we'll go to Jennifer Lutz to give us an update. As you know, one of the requirements is to have a renewal and have council approve our emergency management plan every year. It seems like we've been in it for almost a year now, but things do change, and Jennifer and Brian and the team have made some updates. So Jennifer has a presentation I'd like for her to go through, and then entertain questions from council afterwards. So with that, if Jennifer can get her presentation up, we will start.
Thank you, CEO, when you're ready. So in the Municipal Emergency Management Bylaw 2019-15, the Advisory Committee, which is you guys, must meet annually to review the entire emergency management program. This is also a requirement set out in the Local Authority Emergency Management Regulation. So I know that in the past year, your council agendas have been full with emergency management updates, but we wanted to take this opportunity to review the entire program and to get your feedback. We also want to reflect in the minutes that the Emergency Management Advisory Committee, which is you, met for our audit or review that's going to be happening in the next few weeks. So that is a requirement. So our emergency management framework is the agency, which is the DEMS, DDEMS, CAO, and directors. I think we are supposed to meet quarterly, but we've been meeting weekly or bi-weekly for about the last year, so very well connected. The agency or the advisory committee is yourself. Some municipalities have a couple council, but in our bylaw, it's all of council. So you're part of our framework. And then the emergency management regional agency, which is our community partners. And we meet quarterly, and that's where we connect a lot with our other partners like Alberta Emergency Management Agency, Olds College, RCMP. They all sit at that regional table. Next slide, please. Another part of our framework is we are a member of the Central Region All Hazard Incident Management Team. And it is developed and supported by AMA, and it is not quite mutual aid. It's a team versus a municipal help, but it is a team that is comprised with site-specific risk professionals, people that have ICS position training specific to a position. So we meet with them. There's a requirement for 16 hours of training that we have to do if we're going to be members. Every member of the group has to have the Incident Command System or ICS 300 level. And when I go to some of these meetings, it reminds me of Paw Patrol Super Dogs, because they all have their branded material. They're definitely emergency management gurus. So we are also a member of this Central Alberta team. So if we ever need extra ICS support, these are the folks that we would bring in. Next slide, please. So our annual AMA review, we've done historically really well with this review. We go through a checklist that includes these factors: the self-assessment, the risk assessment, the Town of Olds ERP, the training and exercises that we do. And we also review the Mountain View Regional Emergency Response Plan as well. So we have to meet or exceed all the requirements prescribed in that local authority emergency management regulation, which came into place January of 2020. Next slide, please. So the community assessment that's included in your package, it just sparks the community to take a look within and see where they need to improve. And we've moved a lot of no's to yeses, and a lot of our yeses are still works in progress as well. But you're looking at, you know, how your program stands up in your community. So we review that every year and just take a look and see what we need to work on. So we have some document stuff to bring up to snuff, and some of the yeses, just building more bench strength in those yeses. So we're doing fairly well there. Just on that last slide, we do get rated as one of the top communities in our planning because we're in this SEMP tool. The SEMP is a product of municipal affairs, but we do fairly well because we're in here all the time. And I think CAO Merritt gets a notification every time I go in it. So he knows exactly how many times I've been in it in the last week, getting this stuff ready for you guys. So next slide, after we do the community self-assessment, we do the risk assessment. And the core challenge we face as a municipality is how to prevent, mitigate, prepare, respond, and recover from a myriad of hazards. Several questions arise when we face this challenge. What hazards exist in our area? How frequently may they occur? How severe can the impact be on the community, infrastructure, property, or the environment? So it's a self-look. They give you a great big list of hazards. Some of them don't apply to our area because we don't have that hazard. And it goes through a lot of different questions that are ranked internally in their system. So, you know, it's a point system. So if you answer yes or maybe or rarely, it gives you different points to come up with this assessment. So this tool helps us do our risk assessment. It's not a prediction tool or anything like that. It just gives us awareness of what we're dealing with in our system. And the ranking can help us on where we need to do training or exercises and what our mitigation plans are for these specific hazards in the community. So we do this annually as well. And again, it has a predetermined rating that looks at hazard identification, frequency, changes in frequency, trends, history, social impacts, and consequences. And we get that rating. So the next slide is our annual plan. And it's a living document, and I swear a week after we print it, there's another update to be made. So it's a living document that we tweak along the year when we see a phone number or an agency or a group change. But we do go through it every year and call those numbers and test the system to make sure our data is accurate. And I know if there was an emergency, we'd be on the phones Googling stuff and Googling phone numbers, but it's a great hard copy plan to have just to support emergencies. So we have the old ERP, and I was telling CAO Merritt just last week, we had another municipality ask for our plan. We have a good reputation in the province that our plan is solid, so that's nice and something to be proud of. We also have the Mountain View Regional Emergency Management Plan, and within that, it has an emergency social service appendix. So that plan is also reviewed annually, and if we were ever called for mutual aid, we'd be working under that plan in a different municipality, or if we needed partners to come in, that's the same language for all the partners in our area. So next slide, please. There's actually mandatory training requirements, and we've been doing a pretty good job keeping up with our training, either online, virtually, and we've been doing a lot of mentoring. So we have to use this incident command system, and that's used across industry, across government, lots of agencies. It's pretty standardized. Our municipal staff who support emergency management must have 100 or 200. The DEMs and DDEMs must have at least 300. I think we both have 400. And then we must conduct an annual exercise unless there is a full-scale activation. So we are chalking up our learnings and using this as our exercise this year, because as I said, we've all had a lot of emergency management and we don't need to do anything else besides just look after our community. So next slide, please. So we track our training, and we make sure that we have capacity. Those are some of the courses that we have under our belt. And I think we're fairly covered. And if not, we do have mutual aid that can help us out as well. So next slide, please. Our final part of the review is that our bylaw is current, which you guys did last year, that you appoint the advisory committee, which is done, that you appoint the DEM, which is done, and that we have this beautiful annual agency meeting, which is being done right now. So I think we're in very good shape for our audit, and it will be done by AMA by the end of March is the deadline for that. So with that, I think that's all I have for you today.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mrs. Lutz. May I start with a motion, and then if there's any questions, Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that council shall approve the Town of Old's emergency management plan.
Excellent.
And I just want to reiterate to our community how well this emergency plan has been done. And I want to thank everyone who was involved, because it is a spectacular specimen. And it's no wonder we get accolades all the time, and people want our templates for so many departments. And so a great, huge thank you to everyone involved.
Very well said, Councillor Bennett. Thank you. Any further questions, comments? Councillor Thompson.
Yes, Your Worship, thank you. On page 34 of our agenda, 5 of 18 of the self-assessment, under question 11, it asks about emergency management policy. And it's in progress, I understand. Is this something that'll be coming to council in the near future? I know you guys have so much on your plates with the emergency as it is.
Noted that one. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead, Mrs. Lutz.
Yeah, I answered yes to that because we have part of it done, but I think just with the protective services branch being stood up, around our policies and procedures, I think that we do have areas that we can have a little bit more time to look at. So I'd say yes, that will come to council in time.
Excellent. All right, any further comments, questions, Councillor?
Thank you, Your Worship. I thought Councillor Harper had her hand up before me.
Did she? My apologies.
Yep.
Councillor Harper, then we'll go to Councillor Ryan.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Through you to Ms. Blitz. I know that you gave us this wonderful binder that has everything possible in it that probably is already outdated, as you pointed out. But I know that pre-COVID-19, there was a discussion between yourself and myself in reference to trying to establish benchmarks so that we know if an emergency happens, if a disaster happens, that we have benchmarks in reference to how do we gauge economic recovery. And I'm sure that we have not had an opportunity to work on those type of benchmarks. But will we be looking at that in the future?
I actually think that will come a lot in the after action reports on what we learn, where those benchmarks come. So work on that, I would say, is not from our end. Maybe Larry's different, hasn't been finalized or really discussed because we're still in it.
Right. Thank you.
Just another point on the hazard assessment, you guys might see where it says, yes, there's a mitigation plan and there's a strategy. We can't just say yes, there actually is a mitigation plan and strategy behind every one of those points. It doesn't show up in the report, but we can't just say yes. We actually have to list the plan and AMA reviews that. It's not just a checkbox.
Thank you.
Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for letting us know about that, Ms. Letts. I do have a question for you with regards to when you said earlier about you used to have a lot of no's and now a lot of them are yeses. There's still a couple of no's within the document that I saw in the council package. And I'm just wondering, with those no's that are still there, would they be updated? Like, would we be still working on those, or are they just no's because they're definitely no's?
Are definitely no's, some don't apply, like the summer village question. But some are ones that we need to, like the secondary consequences for significant hazards. I think we're just really, we just have first consequences, and that was a big gain for us, having those documented. So the secondary ones, yes, we will get to that, but we just wanted to make sure we've had all the original mitigation strategies. So that's 0.8. So it's a no, but yeah, it should be a yes. We're just not there yet.
Okay, and I may perhaps could, if I just could elaborate on my question, one of the examples I have for you, Ms. Letts, is on page 40 under 4.4, the communications, number 3. It says, does the Alberta Emergency Alert Procedure / Guideline require that a practice alerts are documented? And we have no, and I'm just wondering, is that a no because, you know, we don't do it right now, or is it required and we going forward we're going to do that? So those are the kind of no's that could turn to yeses that I was asking about. So that's an example.
So that no, I know that for people that do AEA training and updates, I know they do it, but if our AMA field officer went to me, where is it documented? I don't know where, I don't think we're officially documenting it. So it's just, it's being done. It's just the documentation is not quite up to snuff for that review that I'd feel comfortable saying, yes, it's right here.
Okay, so would we be working on that in the future then? That would be my question.
For sure.
All right, great, thank you very much.
And maybe it'll be helpful for this document if it's possible to change some of the ones like you mentioned with the summer villages to an NA, not applicable sort of designation there. Then you know, if somebody's scanning for no's, then they don't come across that and see it as a no and don't possibly read it. And so
yeah, unfortunately,
you have 15 no's in there.
Unfortunately, the tool doesn't do that. It doesn't give you any option, but I agree.
I figured as much, but thought I'd give it a try. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? We have a motion on the table, so I will call for a vote, seeing no hands, and all in favor. And opposed. Oh, Mr. Merritt, you're opposed? You're on mute, sir. That motion is carried, by the way, and we will move along. Mr. Merritt, sorry.
I just wanted to have a closing comment here. We went through both of these presentations in a short period of time, but it has taken a lot of time and effort and a lot of training. And that's what I don't know if people realize, the amount of not only training that members of our emergency management team have, but the entire staff of the town of Folds, the number of people trained has been phenomenal, especially over the past couple of years. Brian and Jennifer and Scott have certainly led us from being an adequate emergency management group to a very strong emergency management group. I can't, and Jennifer's right, we're getting requests for our plans because they're not only complete, they're well done, they're well thought out, and they are actually implementable. So I think that's huge. And I guess as a community, we should feel secure that if another emergency takes place on top of the current pandemic, we will be ready for it and help our community adjust to any of the changes. As you know, these things can come upon people totally unexpected, as happened in the state of Texas and a number of other places in the US that we've seen. And I think it's very important to have a team together that understands action and can basically take these plans and put them into action. So I have to thank my emergency management team tremendously for the time and effort that they put into this. They take this tremendously serious, and I know AMA look upon this group as one of the top-notch groups in the province.
Excellent, very well said, CAO. And I know it's a very big source of pride to this council, how much work has been done by you and the rest of the staff to get us to the point where, like we've said over and over and over, other municipalities are calling us all the time. Thank you so much. Let's move right along to number 4, business arising out of minutes or unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business? Councillor Overwater.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I'd like to just direct you to page 7, where I had requested permission from council to attend personally, along with my vice chair for the Olds Policing Advisory Committee, to attend a conference in Brooks. That now is virtual, and the registration fee will encompass 6 people. So for $500, 6 people will be able to attend that one-day conference. So we're hoping that all of our members from the OPAC, Olds Policing Advisory Committee, will be able to attend that one-day seminar. But anyway, I just want clarity on that so that my budget will reflect that.
Excellent. Well, budget will be real numbers after that point, after we did approve that for you. So excellent. Thank you very much for the update. Any other unfinished business or business arising? Seeing none, we'll move along to bylaws. Item 5A, CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. And bylaw 2021-02, land use bylaw 0123 amendment to the murals. We had a pretty lengthy and great discussion at our policy and priorities meeting. From that, we had made adjustments to the bylaw to reflect the direction from council at that meeting. So with that, we are introducing those changes to the bylaw. And I'm not sure, because I can't see with my current situation, whether Mr. Teal is here or if Mr. Chant's going to speak to this.
Mr. Teal was here earlier. Yeah, his icon is there. So
he is on. Mr. Teal is on the line there. it was just to listen in. As this was first reading, we didn't feel it was going to need a presentation or any large amount of his time, other than if there was a question that may come up that he could answer better than administration. But yes, it was. This is to put on the table for first reading and to set the public hearing for this on March 22nd.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Director Chant. Councillor Harper, would you like to make the first reading motion?
I'd be happy to, but I'm just a little bit confused. Our agenda front page says bylaw 2021-02, but the pages indicate 2021-01. So which is it?
Okay.
Am I confused?
No, you're not. I see that now too. I didn't notice it before. Good catch.
I didn't either until just now.
I think all the way through the document, it does say 2021-01, but
Okay,
maybe our ledge clerk could clarify that for us. I don't know if she has the list of bylaws in front of her or not.
So I'll make the motion. Then if everything goes that way.
Let's wait until we figure out that number, because that's integral to the motion. Legislative clerk.
I am just trying to pull up it's Marcy. I'm just trying to pull up my my spreadsheet, and I believe it is the correct number as a 1. Stand by, please. Hi, it's Marcy. So to confirm, the bylaw number 2021-01 is for murals and 02 was for chickens.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. McKinnon. So I would so move that bylaw number 2021-01 to amend the land use bylaw be given first reading.
Have a comment or question other than the number?
I'll comment.
No, okay. Councillor Overwater.
Yeah, just a comment. I know it's only first reading and it's not really up for discussion right now, but Public Art did have a great discussion regarding some of the things in there. So I'll look forward to the public hearing when it comes here on March 22nd.
Excellent. Any other questions, comments, concerns before I call for the vote? Seeing no hands, I will do just that. All in favor? And opposed? And that motion is carried. All right, let's move along, and may I have a motion for the public hearing, please? Councillor Overwater.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I move that council sets Monday, March 22nd, 2021 at 1 p.m. in as the date, time, and place for a public hearing on bylaw 2021-01 to be held by a virtual meeting.
Excellent. Comments, questions, concerns regarding the public hearing? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that motion carries as well. Excellent. Let's keep moving right along. We had a little change in the agenda, so I will ask Mr. Merritt to come and introduce Council Policy 120C, Public Art.
Thank you, Your Worship. And again, because of the discussion we had at PMP, and as Councillor Overwater had indicated, there was a discussion of the Public Art Committee. Subsequent to that, there was a need to make a few adjustments to our policy to make sure it was aligned to the new adjustments that we made to our bylaw. So with that, I'll ask Director Wagstaff to quickly highlight some of the key changes that were made.
Excellent.
They really were some tweaks. They weren't whole scale by any means. First part under responsibilities, we acknowledged that we needed to ensure that the recommendations on the public art or recommendations that are made on public art go to council or its designated authority for final approval. So that has the flexibility moving forward that we don't need to change the policy if council changes who its designated authority, if any, become. So that strengthens the policy that way. It also updated that it wasn't one counselor, but there, for clarity, that there are two counselors appointed to this committee. A minor housekeeping part just to align with some of the language we use in other bylaws, the difference between public place and public spaces. And at the very end, again, a little bit more clarity added that the committee may have the authority given to it from council or administration to make decisions on approved public art projects that have been approved by council. And those were the those are the highlights of the changes.
So thank you very much, Director Wagstaff. May I have a motion? Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that Council Policy 120C, Public Art, be approved.
Excellent. Comments, questions, concerns? Councillor Overwater, then Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Worship. I'm sure I read it somewhere in one of these documents that we received this weekend. However, okay, some of the public art that we have purchased as a town, we've purchased it, so we own it. Who decides where it is displayed? You know, we have lots of our own municipal buildings, and I'm just wondering why some of our art is displayed in some other buildings. For example, you know, the artwork that was done at Quarterstone is displayed at the Moccasin House at the Old College. So, and I have had residents ask me about that. So I'm just wondering, did that come to council to approve that we put it up there, or how do we decide where that art goes? You know, if we own it, shouldn't we display it in our own municipal buildings? I'm not sure if this is where it should come up, this conversation, but.
It's not a bad question, I don't think.
Thank you.
Mr.
So for that specific piece, generally speaking, no, we don't have any policy that guides us that way to where any of our public art goes. That has been an administrative piece to this date. Keeping in mind that all of the artwork that's in the town office or in the aquatic center are things that would be regulated that way. With that specific piece, the originals were initially put at the town space out in the Commons, Art Commons, Cornerstone Art Commons. We had recognized that that was not going to be the permanent place for them because they would wear in the elements, but they could go there for a short period of time. A replication had been printed of those, placed in the Art Commons, and the original artwork at that point we took a consideration where it could best be held in the interim. We considered the library, we considered the museum, and coincidentally, other conversations had gone on with our heritage advisor with the Moccasin House. We felt that those two particular pieces, because of the Indigenous work that was done, and that they are pieces of art that are about Indigenous culture here in Olds, that was an appropriate place for them to align with. That's the purpose of the Moccasin House. It was the purpose of the artwork. And in the interim, we knew that they would be well cared for and looked after there, as well as being a public space open to the public.
Excellent. Follow-up, Councillor Overwater, or is it a new question?
Well, it's a follow-up because I think this discussion should come back to council as to where, if we're the deciding factor on the purchasing of this art, I think possibly maybe we should be the deciding factor as to are we hanging the art that we purchase in buildings that we own, because we do have a lot of municipal buildings versus hanging it elsewhere in other buildings that are not ours. So I do believe this should have a bigger discussion, and whether we need a policy on that, I don't know. But I think we should have a bigger discussion as to where art that we own, where it is publicly displayed. I'd like to hear what the other councillors feel about that.
Well, let's go to
Your
Director
worship,
first,
may I
and-
just add something that may also just be pertinent to this particular item if you're talking about the specific artwork? It's only on loan. It's not.
Oh, I understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that.
We did a temporary loan agreement with the Olds College to ensure that it was tracked.
I understand that, Mr. Wagstaff. I just feel that, you know, maybe we should have had a bigger discussion regarding that. So I'd really like to hear what the rest of council feels about that.
CAO had his hand up for a minute, so we'll hear from him first.
Yeah, I think we should bring this back to council, but first, I think what we do is have an inventory of what artwork we are looking at first, and then make a determination whether it's administration or council. That basically determines where the best fit is for it. And there's probably two inventories, one on the artwork and one on the actual public buildings that we would have access to.
Excellent idea, for sure. Okay, in keeping with this topic, before we go to Councillor Blatz, does council want to chime in on this? Councillor Harper.
Yes, I had my hand up. I do agree with Councillor Overwater. We do need to have a further discussion in reference to this, and it should be part of this policy, because part of this policy talks about public art collection owned by the town of Wolds. So I think it fits with that particular part of the policy. I would also like to, in speaking to the policy itself, so one of the major changes to this policy is there the item about
Councillor Harper, let's stay
responsibility.
on this topic, and then we'll, if there's
Okay.
a new idea, we'll Councillor Blatz was in before everybody else with her question, and then we'll come back to you. Councillor Thompson, is this on the inventory? And
Yes, Your Worship. I was going to agree with Councillor Overwater. I don't know that we need to pick every small item where it goes, but I think under our package, under the policy on page 136, you could add a letter D to town council shall and approve location of public artwork. It would be really easy to amend and fit into this policy as with a small addition.
fair enough. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll go to Councillor Blatz with a new question or comment, and then we'll circle back.
Actually, Your Worship, my comment was going to be very similar. I was going to say that we should add it to this policy that council does review where our artwork goes, and I concur with what Councillor Overwater was saying. That was going to be my comments, but it's just reiterating what everyone else has already said.
Excellent, thank you. All right, Councillor Harper, a new topic or question.
Just a comment that we are changing the public art policy to indicate that the Public Art Advisory Committee can make recommendations to council or to the designated authorities to align with, in reference to land use bylaw.
Well, we haven't voted on the motion. Councillor Bennett has made a motion. Let's go to Councillor Ryan first, then Overwater.
Thank you, Your Worship. First, I just want to say, yeah, I agree with Councillor Overwater. And second off, though, I do have a question. We're actually looking at a shift in mindset here. When we originally set this committee together and put it together and put policy in place, the whole idea was that council would have the final say as to the public art. And now we're actually, going towards saying, other designated committees. So I think it is a different shift, and I think we need to have a discussion about whether or not we want to go in this direction. I don't really have too much of a difficulty with it. I guess I do think that it won't make any difference. Art is in the eye of the beholder. Everybody's going to have an individual opinion on what art looks like to them, and to me, it won't make a difference really whether we put it in the hands of the Municipal Planning Commission to approve a mural or any other art. It would still come back onto council, saying people will still say to council, well, why'd you make that decision? So I'm not quite 100% sure whether or not we would want to designate another group to do it, because at the end of the day, council will be held responsible. That's just my feeling, and I think we need to have a discussion on the change.
Well, I think we'll have that opportunity for second reading and the public hearing for the mural bylaw. With the changes that Director Wagstaff and CAO have made to this policy, it allows that change at that point.
Yeah, that's why we have to have it, because there's no point in changing the policy if we're not going to change the bylaw or vice versa.
We'll have that opportunity on March 22nd to discuss. All right, Councillor Overwater and then Blatz.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I agree with Councillor Ryan there, and Councillor Harper. I think there needs to be a specific designation, and we can discuss this at the public hearing. But I think at the Public Art Advisory Committee, I think the people sitting around the table wanted to know, okay, is this going to council or is this going to the MPC? Because they felt that there was a lot of processes that were happening. So as Councillor Ryan indicated, at the end of the day, council is going to get either congratulated or beat up. So council might as well have the final authority to say one way or another, and just leave it at that. Just take it back to council and take out or designated authority. So yeah, it's just going to cause confusion, I think, for people.
As art is in the eye of the beholder, we'll probably get both beat up and praised.
Absolutely. So we might as well have the final decision. My thoughts.
All right, good discussion on March 22nd coming up. Keep that data available on your on your calendars. Councillor Blatz, I believe you were next, and then Councillor Harper.
Thank you, Worship. I mean, I guess part of the reason why I brought this up at our PNP meeting and after that is I don't want to see this become a long, convoluted process. I think we need to decide what we're going to do, and if we're going to have the final say, then we've got to make sure that we can expedite this process. Or if it's going to go to MPC, whichever it is. I know with the chicken bylaw, we were very clear we wanted it to go through MPC, but I just don't want to see this become a 45-day process that people who are applying for murals and it's just long and drawn out. Yeah. And I think that we just need to be very clear what direction we want to go in. I'm good with either way. It's either MPC or it's council. And it's true, we will get either praised or criticized no matter what decision, whether we make it or not. But I brought this up last time, and I wanted to just ensure that it was a simple process. That's all.
Yep, absolutely. Fair point. Thank you. Councillor Harper.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. So we've already brought to light a couple of things in reference to this policy that's now on the table. But instead of, you're saying March 22nd, we'll have a wholesome discussion, but this policy is here before us now. So we have some questions in reference to whether the Public Art Advisory Committee shall make recommendations on public art to council for final approval or a designated agency or authority. I would say they make recommendations to council for final approval. The next part of this policy we need to address is what we do with our public art collection, the art collection owned by the town of Wolves. So we need an addition to this policy. Yep. I don't believe that we need to be in a rush I believe that we can send this policy back to our administration. They've heard our discussion and our concerns about changes required, and bring it back to the next council meeting. As compared to approving something right now and having it brought back for more changes.
Director Wagstaff.
So when this has been presented to council earlier, it did read that it was approved by council. And the request from council was to bring back clarity that did designated authority mean the same as being approved by council. So we brought back some language that clarified that it was council or council's designated authority. It previously read when presented to council as approved by council with a period. Then council requested that that be clarified, that if they chose that it was MPC in the case of murals, did this policy cover that? That's why it returned back here with the added language, council or its designated authority.
I think I don't have a problem with that language because that gives us flexibility down the road, and we can implement in the bylaw with murals that it comes back to council or MPC, whichever we decide, and the policy will still fit. I think what we're looking for here today is more a placement clause where we're going to place the public art that we do approve. So if it's at the Arts Commons or scattered throughout town, if it hangs in the arena, if it hangs in the museum, council would like to make that decision as well. So suggestions, I think that's a fairly simple fix. It's just adding a clause that all public art be brought back to council for its placement within the town. Can we do that today, or should we wait and table this and have it brought back? Councillor Ryan, then Overwater, then Harper.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I do think we should table this. I think we're putting the cart before the horse here a little bit because we have not passed the bylaw for the murals. I think we should wait to have that discussion with regards to whether or not we want MPC to have the final decision on the murals or whether we want council to have the final decision on the murals. I think one way or the other will resort in the change to the policy with regards to it'll be either council having the final decision or council and designate. So I think if there's no point in changing the policy right now, if at the public hearing and the bylaw that we decide that council is going to have the final say on the murals and it doesn't go to MPC. So I think, and also it'll give time for our administration to come back and put in the proper wording for location of our public art that we own. So let's try to get this tabled for now and bring it back after we've done the bylaw.
Well, let's go to Mr. Merritt first, then Councillor Overwater and Harper.
I agree with Councillor Ryan. What we brought back today was based on direction from policy and priorities to basically have MPC be the designated area. The issue that was raised today was not part of the discussion of who decides where the art is going to be collected. So I totally agree with Councillor Ryan that we shouldn't even bring that back on the 22nd, wait till the decision of the 22nd is made, and then basically bring this policy back. So it basically follows the bylaw that gets passed. That's how I see it.
Yep, no, that sounds fair enough. Councillor Overwater.
Well, I was just going to comment on page 138.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom of page 137, it says the purpose of the Public Art Advisory Committee, and then the final bullet, may have the authority to make decisions on the selection of public art based on the direction of council and or administration. So I think we need to have a discussion on that as well. So, okay, let's get the bylaw passed, then we'll work on that.
So it looks like the direction. Let's go to Councillor Harper first.
So your worship, I'm prepared to make a tabling motion.
Okay.
So move that
I
policy,
should ask if it's all right if Councillor Bennett withdraws her motion.
oh, if she wants to withdraw, that's great.
Yeah, I was gonna say point of order. We have a motion on the table.
We do have a motion on the table.
I will, yes, graciously accept the change. And withdraw.
Your motion, I'm sorry. Yeah,
And
excellent.
withdraw.
Excellent. Now, Councillor Harper, if you'd like to make the tabling motion.
I move that policy, council policy 120C, public art, be tabled to an April regular council agenda.
Excellent. Sounds good. Ms. McKinnon, did you lit up there for a moment? Do you have a comment?
No, I'm good, thank you.
All right. Okay. Any questions, comments, concerns regarding Councillor Harper's motion? Seeing none, I will call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that motion is carried. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. That is item 6D that we popped above. Now let's go to item 6A, CAO, Olds College sponsorship request.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll ask Director Wagstaff to speak to this item.
Sorry, I was still taking notes from the last discussion, making sure I captured it. With regards to this, on an annual basis, as the RFD does indicate, council has supported the Olds College, what they've traditionally called the gala. And in place of that, they have another iteration this year due to COVID, as well as they had 2 years ago decided to move away from doing gala to another marquee event. So with that combination, we did have a request come in for support. Upon review, we have recommended a bronze level sponsorship matches most closely to the level of financial sponsorship that the town had provided previously.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Director Wagstaff. May I start with a motion, please? Councillor Thompson.
Yes, Your Worship, I would move that the town of Olds sponsor a bronze package for the Olds College, a celebration of Alberta Ag event taking place virtually on Friday, April 9th, 2021.
Excellent. Comments, questions? This is a typical thing that we do every year, so very excited to throw support to the Olds College, our biggest partner in the town of Olds. So if there's no questions, comments, or concerns, I'll call the vote. Seeing none, I will do just that. All in favor and opposed. And that motion is carried. Very good. Thank you very much. Let's move along to item 6B, Proclamation of International Women's Day, March 8th. CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I'll ask again Director Wagstaff to speak to this proclamation.
And I do believe Heritage Advisor Michelle Jorgensen is on the line with us, so she's going to introduce this and speak to the importance of why the town of Olds has recognized this in the past and why it would be important for us to again this year.
Mrs. Jorgensen.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and Council. Thank you so much for your time today. From the Status of Women Canada, International Women's Day is March the 8th. It's an opportunity to reflect on the progress made towards achieving gender equality and celebrate the acts of courage and determination by individuals who have. Do we need to make a motion to, or do I?
Not until you're finished.
Okay, I'll continue then. The day is meant to celebrate the acts of courage and determination by individuals who have played an extraordinary role in advancing equality in their communities. The beginnings of International Women's Day trace back to the early 20th century, emerging from activities of labor movements in North America and Europe, and reflecting a growing call for women to participate equally in society. The first International Women's Day was observed on March the 19th in 1911 in Austria, Denmark, Germany, and Switzerland. That day, more than 1 million women and men showed their support by participating in public events. In the years that followed, other countries began to observe and celebrate this day. The United Nations recognized 1975 as International Women's Year and began celebrating International Women's Day on March 8th, later adopting a resolution designating March 8th as International Women's Day. Today, International Women's Day, a day of unity, celebration, reflection, advocacy, and action, is celebrated in countries around the world. As Council has recognized this important day in past years, and it is in alignment with our efforts towards being a welcoming and inclusive community, we're requesting that Monday, March the 8th, 2021, again be officially recognized as International Women's Day in Olds.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jorgensen. At this time, I'd love to have a motion. Councillor Overwater.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, I move that Monday, March 8th, 2021 be recognized as International Women's Day in Olds.
Excellent, thank you. Questions, comments, concerns? Don't see any hands. It's fantastic to hear. I did not know the history, Mrs. Jorgensen. 1911 was a long time ago, and it's great to see that there was 1 million people on Earth in those days that were up for that change and that leap forward. So it's good that we can do this 120 years or 110 years later, I guess it is. Thank you very much for your input. And at this point in time, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? And opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you very much, everybody. Let's keep moving right along to item 6C, Proclamation of Economic Development Week, CAO.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship, and it'd be great if Council could proclaim May 5th through 15th, 2021 as Economic Development Week in the town of Olds. I think from the presentation that Director Powell gave on the ICP and the importance of economic development and the recovery through this COVID-19 pandemic that we've had, it's been tremendous to have a strong economic development twist and response to the COVID-19. Town of Olds is one of the first municipalities to set up a task force to deal with COVID-19, and that was led by our Development Secretariat, Larry Rice. Throughout the next 2.5 months, as we get to mid-May for this proclamation date and this week, next week, Larry is going to be presenting to Council an update from the Secretariat, and he'll speak a bit more about some of the opportunities for Economic Development Week. And that's probably why we've put this on the agenda for today, so we can get the proclamation in, and that there's going to be some importance to this, especially this year, as so many of our businesses throughout Alberta and in the town of Olds that require economic development and to see us through this next 6 months to a year as we hopefully overcome COVID and overcome some of our economic difficulties. This is why we're asking you to proclaim this as a council today.
Excellent. Thank you very much, CAO. May I start with a motion, please? Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that Council proclaim May 9th through 15th, 2021 as Economic Development Week in the town of Olds. And I just want to say I commend Mr. Wright and his staff and the staff of the town of Olds for bringing this forward and the commitment they've had to economic recovery and development that we've had as an ongoing process in the town. I think it's a job well done.
Excellent, very much appreciated, yes, and this year much more important than previous years as well. So any further comments, questions? Councillor Thompson.
Your worship, I wonder if there's an opportunity during the week of May 9th through 15th to involve more economic development information in our council agenda. I recognize that you are a member on the task force for the province, and Councillor Overwater with the Central Alberta Economic Partnership. Perhaps we could also include some economic updates as part of our council meeting on during that week.
Absolutely, that sounds like a fantastic idea. My committee through AUMA, the Recovery Task Force, is just in the process of doing the final revisions on our final report. So it should be ready for that week. So I'll be able to share and publicly show that document off of our good work. And I'm sure Councillor Overwater and Mr. Wright will have some information to come forward from CAPE as that's a great organization that helps out as well. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think it would also be good if we could put out little tidbits of information on our Facebook page during that week, as well as, or even on our website. Did you know? Yeah, exactly. Some did you knows would be good.
Okay, we'll get Director Wagstaff on that. And Director Linderman can help out, I'm sure, with some her economic background. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? We have a motion on the table, so I'll call for a vote. All in favor and opposed. And that motion is carried. All righty. That brings us to an added item 6E, the Canadian Urban Institute. Councillor Bennett, I believe.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is a national platform, but its main concern is COVID recovery for businesses, no matter the size of your town or city. And its main platform, though national, wants Canada to build vibrant, equitable, livable, and resilient town and cities. So bring back Main Street and restore the core is definitely part of their action. Downtown restaurants, reallocating spaces for sidewalk cafes and perhaps eliminating the requisite fees for that, but reallocating space in front of each restaurant to encourage socialization when COVID either is finished or when we're in phase 2, that people can enjoy socializing again and perking up mental health. So their suggestions and their toolkit are vast, their examples are vast, and they support bold action now. And if there are empty spaces, to allow perhaps cheaper leases or rent for pop-up shops, also going to Saturday sales or having DJs downtown during the summer and enjoying chalk festivals, doing whatever you can to bring people downtown. I'm sure most of you have been downtown or in the uptown area rather, and seeing what Saturdays are like. And it's like, you could drive Archie the Tank down the street and nobody would notice on most Saturdays. So there are those who, whether they're volunteers, the chamber, the uptown group, and municipalities, we all have a chance to recover quicker when we all collaborate. So I can only say so much about that, but there are millions of pages. So I'm just encouraging everyone to have a look at that. And also, I think Michelle Larocque may have got information on it as well. And there are lots of things that our community services area could involve themselves in. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for the update. And I haven't been to their website yet, but we'll certainly visit and do some reading. Thank you very much. All right, let's move along and go to item 7A, reports from councils, boards, and committees. Who would like to go first? Councillor Blatz, let's start with you and then we'll go around.
Thank you, Worship. I'll start with the motion first and then I'll
Yes.
just speak briefly. I move that the correspondence and information report ending February 22nd, 2021 be received for information. And I will go quickly first. I do have
Point of order.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry, Councillor Blatz, you just made the motion for correspondence, right? Not
Oh,
the report.
sorry.
That's
Sorry,
okay.
you're correct.
That's okay. That's
I'm a
okay.
page ahead of myself. Sorry, my apologies. I'll move back one.
If you could withdraw that motion and deal with it.
I can do that, yes. I move that council accepts reports from council boards and committees as of February 22nd for information.
There we go.
Thank you. Sorry, my apologies. Anyway, I do have a written report coming forthwith, but I just didn't get it in time. So I will just go over quickly what I have, what I've attended in the last month. I've attended all regular council meetings and policy and procedure meetings, broadband, investment meetings. I also attended both the AUMA President's Summit on both February 4th and 17th and Brownlee's Emerging Trends webinar. And also I did attended our regular wastewater commission meeting last Friday, and I have a report coming forward with that. So.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Let's go to Councillor Overwater next on my screen. So.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I too have a written report, and I just finished it today, so I'll send it in. But some of the highlights were, and I think I talked a bit about it before, was the Indigenous training that the mayor and myself attended through CAPE. It was very informative about, understanding the culture and behaviors of the First Nations people. And so anyway, there's more information in my report on that. Also, CAPE, I attended their strat plan, and in there, and I think I said this at the council's conversation, however, Nehill County has been awarded a $800 million MDF plant, which will be out at Trochu. They purchased 3/4 of land, and with that, they'll have 350 jobs once the plant is completed. I don't know how many construction jobs it will take. However, once it is completed, they will need 1.3 million tons of straw. So I think this is going to be a spin-off with the 350 employees. I think it will add to housing sales and farmers selling their product and new businesses opening to help accommodate those people. Also, in 2021, CAPE still has their per capita fee at 60 cents. After that, for the next 3 years, it'll go up 10 cents. So it'll go 70, 80, 90. And that will be also per capita. And that is due to the fact that the government of Alberta knocked us down by $50,000 from $100,000 each year. And also, we don't even know if we'll be getting any money from the government of Alberta. We're not sure if they're going to be supporting REITs or not. However, with economic development, they really should be, supplying us with some sort of funds to help our region grow. Also, CAPE is no longer a contributing member to Access Prosperity due to the fact that we just don't have money for that. And consequently, we're not on board anymore. And Access Prosperity was foreign investment involvement. And however, our board meeting, we felt that we can do a lot with foreign investment ourselves with the people that we know, the contacts that we have with the different ministries. So I think we'll be okay with that. Also attended the AUMA President's Summit, February 4th and 17th. And there was lots of discussion on there. Should we have our own provincial police force? What it will cost us, which will be extremely a large amount of money, I believe, because you don't, you have to have all your own infrastructure, you pay for all your own buildings. The price of having provincial police force versus RCMP is about an average of 20% more higher in salaries and benefits. So who's going to pay for that? I guess it would just be another download to the municipalities, because you don't get your federal grants anymore when that happens. There was a bit of a conversation about that may be on the ballot in October. Should we have our provincial police force? So that may be something that happens. There's also AMA had advocated for the police review, Police Act review, which they are doing. I don't think it had been reviewed since 1988, and I think it was tweaked in 2011. However, it was just, they feel that municipalities should have more of a say regarding if municipalities feel that they're getting the best policing service for what they're paying. Also attended all the regular council meetings, broadband, PNP, Public Art Advisory Committee meeting. We had a good discussion, as we had today in our own meeting here today. So it'll be interesting when it goes to the public hearing. Olds Policing Advisory Committee, we've had 2 meetings, and we have some phenomenal people on there. And in March, we will be looking at finalizing the policy manual that we have, and the survey. Everybody should go on the Town of Olds website. There's a survey on there with community policing, and you should go on there and fill it out, because it'll help the advisory committee find out where the community priorities are, and then we'll be discussing it with our RCMP and our Director of Protective Services. Also, we felt we might need a few more meetings, since we're a brand new organization, and just getting the details finalized may take more than 4 meetings a year. Attended Brownlee Emerging Trends, and again, there was many interesting comments with the wording for documents for developers, and I was glad to see that some of our staff was on there, because they had some very interesting comments. And also then we, then I attended the Waste Commission meeting this morning, and in there we're doing financially very well. We most likely will not borrow for our new supercell that we're building out there. It's going to cost around $1.4 million. And with the sale of the Olds transfer station and the hydrocarbonated, well, actually, we put it in as just waste, because there was a lot of old landfill in there. Both of those 2 have brought in revenues of about $1.5 million to the landfill. So we probably won't be having to borrow. So it's good. We're getting debt free, which has been a long time in coming. And with our staff, we also had the Alberta Environment Parks come for a compliance inspection, and he indicated to us that he had never seen such a good looking landfill, and we were in compliant with mostly everything. So he was very happy with us. So that's a long report, and I'll also send it to you, so you'll be able to read it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Overwater. Let's go to Councillor Bennett.
Sorry about that. I attended many of the same as others, and I've had a relatively quiet month as well, but this week will enter municipal cooperation committee meetings and Olds Institute meetings, and I will submit a written one as well. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor Bennett. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I already submitted my written report this morning. I think I just want to highlight one thing that I attended, I guess, other than what's already been mentioned, and that was the Olds Municipal Library Board meeting. We're having an AGM come up on, let me just double check here, March 17th at 6:30, and council's invited to attend, as well as the public. So there you go.
Excellent.
Anybody else can read anything else in my written report?
Thank you very much. Councillor Thompson.
Yes, Your Worship. Like many of the other councillors, I attended the AMA's President Summit on Policing, the Emerging Trends in Municipal Law with Brownlee and Associates. I participated in the Municipal Planning Commission meeting and the regular council meetings, PNP meeting, and CAO council conversation. Just a couple items of note from the emerging trends. Great information from municipalities on best practices and concerns related to the pandemic and how staff and community are cared for. Some good information around designated areas or the need to designate areas for alcohol and cannabis use, and incentives and other initiatives for economic development. Those are the committees and activities I participated in, and lots of good learning. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Councillor Harper.
Hello, Your Worship.
There we are.
Everybody else seemed to be frozen.
Oh.
We were wondering what you were
momentarily as
doing.
well.
You were frozen in time, Marianne. So like the rest of council, I did attend the President's Summit, Emerging Trends with Brownlee Law. And I would like to point out there's a couple things in reference to the AUMA President's Summit about policing and the discussion that where the route the province is going as part of their red tape reduction. I think that's what their policy is, to look at the feasibility of moving to an Alberta police force. Of the 650 plus registrants on that one afternoon webinar, I would say the vast majority were not in favor of moving towards an Alberta police force at this time due to the huge economic costs of it. I didn't see much in the reference to chatter or on those chat pages about the positive move in that. So I look forward to that feasibility study when they present the report in October of 2021. I also attended the Water Commission meeting and Public Art Advisory Committee meeting. And as you can see, as part of our minutes from the Public Art Advisory Committee, that we did have a resignation of one of the public members. And this committee is making recommendations to council to replace that or to fill that that vacancy on the Public Art Advisory Committee. So I'm going to be making that recommendation to our administration to request that advertising start taking place for that vacancy on that board. Mm-hmm. They feel it's very important to have a broad sector of public members on that. So I also attended a very short directors meeting for the Olds Chamber. Annual meeting for the Olds Chamber is March the 10th. Guest speaker, drum roll, is our mayor, Michael Majiska, who will be presenting a sort of state of the town of Olds address to the members. It will be held virtually, and town of Olds will be providing a door prize that will be handed out later on during the meeting. So we encourage members to sign up for that virtual annual meeting on March the 10th. Listen in. Thank you.
Excellent. Councillor Overwater, did you have a question?
I did. To Councillor Harper, will you be sending out an invite to council to attend that so that we have the details to sign in for it? Or
yes, as soon as all of those details are worked out, expect to have that come through Shelley French of our office.
Thank you.
We're just working out all those details on that.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I think that brings the discussion to me. And I'm always excited to get out and speak. It's been a weird year. I haven't really spoke a whole bunch publicly, but looking forward to the chamber State of the Union address sort of thing. that we do every year, and that's always exciting. I also attended almost everything that that everybody else attended. The President Summit through AUMA, the Emerging Trends through Brownlee, all those types of meetings. I also did attend and actually chaired a Mayors of South Central Alberta committee meeting that council so graciously allowed us to participate in. And once we get some session notes all hammered out, I will share those with all of council. That group did tap on my shoulder to have a Herculean task of trying to put together MLA's Speaker of the House Cooper, MLA Horner, Minister Dreeshen, and Minister Nixon for our next meeting. Not sure if I'm going to get all 4 of those individuals in a Zoom chat on the same day at the same time, but I've got 2 out of the 4, so I just have to nail down a couple more. So we'll hopefully have a really good discussion with them about the priorities and so forth that all of our South Central communities are going through. So so that's about the end of my report. And like I said, I'll share those session notes once we finalize them. So unless there's any other questions or comments, I will call for a vote as we have a motion on the table. All in favor and opposed. All right, that motion carries. All right, let's move along to correspondence and information. CAO.
Thank you, Your Worship. And we have 4 pieces of correspondence and information for this council meeting. The first 2 are from James Wild and Barb Adair, and they're both concerning, and they have concerns about the coal development in Alberta, changing in policy that the government of Alberta has basically spoken. The correspondence is in regards to our waste collection and some concerns with the once every 3 week collection of our 3 components of our waste collection. This individual, Jocelyn Alcoury, I believe, she would like to see it move to a bi-weekly for garbage collection. And last and certainly not least, Sheena Linderman, our Director of Finance, put together an excellent budget booklet outlining the changes and the decisions of council for our budget year. And that's an 18-page document full of good information for the public to review. And I want to thank Sheena and all those people that worked on that document.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Merritt. Yes, it's since we've started doing this budget document, it's evolved and become a highlight of everybody's year, I'm sure. What's more important and more fun than budgeting? May I have a motion to accept for information, please? Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that the correspondence and information report ending February 22nd, 2021 be received for information.
Excellent. Thank you. Comments, questions, concerns? Councillor Blatz.
Thank you, Your Worship. I noticed with both these letters from Mr. Wild and from Mrs. Adair that many of our surrounding communities have written letters to the province in respect to communication or lack thereof when they decided to rescind the 1976 coal policy. Is this something this council would entertain, to write the province a letter stating that we recognize the concerns with coal mining and that we'd like to ensure there be proper engagement in the future?
Excellent idea. Councillor.
For information, I mean proper engagement for information, because I noted that during our conversations in the President's Summit, that many of the chat, there were comments from people during there that there'd been no conversation ever in regards to rescinding that coal agreement. And there seemed to be lack of engagement. So I don't know if that's something council should be looking at. Typically, it doesn't really affect us directly, although eventually it could affect the water supply we do get from the Red Deer River if it continues on. So I just wonder what the will of council is, or if anybody's interested.
Okay. Councillor Thompson?
Yes, Your Worship, just in response to that, I think it's a great initiative for us to consider. In the media and in all the social media stuff, there's information that's correct and probably incorrect. I can't say I'm fully informed on the matter, but I do believe it's something that may impact us in the future and well worth our consideration.
Excellent. CAO, would we be able to put this on a upcoming PNP to talk, or I guess it should be a regular council meeting if council's going to advise us to write a letter?
Well, council can put it on an upcoming meeting of PNP or council, or you could give direction to the CAO or administration to provide a letter to the appropriate authorities.
Well, let's, unless there's any further discussion, yes, Councillor Harper.
Actually, I should let Councillor Blatt make the motion. She's brought it up as a concern too. I would so move that we direct the mayor and administration to draft a letter.
How about we vote on the motion we have on the table to accept her correspondence, and then I'll let Councillor Blatt, as it was her suggestion, if that's all right. Unless there's any other questions regarding the correspondence, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that motion is carried. And Councillor Blatz, would you?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you to council for supporting this, but I do believe that we should send a letter to the province or to the applicable boards and, stating that we have concerns with the transition into coal mining and the environmental impacts it could do, to ensure that there will be proper engagement with all constituents and governments going forward.
And municipalities, if I may.
Municipalities, thank you, yes.
Yeah, very much.
Thank you.
Yes, as well. Very good. Thank you very much. Questions, comments, concerns on that motion? Yes, Councillor Overwater.
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, let's just make sure that we do see all the applicable ministries that need to hear the concerns, rather than, I just don't want to send it to the Premier, and I just don't want to send it to Nixon. I'm sure there's some other ministries that we need to tap into as well to make
Savage should be included, Minister Savage. Yeah.
Yeah, Savage and Municipal Affairs should probably have a copy. And yeah, no, we can certainly do that. All right, Councillor Harper.
So I just want to know what the motion reads now. I'm not sure what it's supposed to say.
Okay.
Is it just a letter of concern?
Well, I think a letter of concern with the process of coal mining, and to ensure that proper engagement, if there's going to be future coal mining, that we are engaged as municipalities, local governments, and constituents. And I think, as I stated, there appears to have been a lack of engagement. So I don't know if that's not succinct enough. Perhaps maybe I could ask Marcy, or our legislative clerk, if I need to expound any further.
Wouldn't it be on the environmentally impacted part of coal mining?
Yeah.
No, we can have a general, let's write a letter to the Premier and applicable ministries, and then we can tweak the letter as we see fit afterwards.
That's good. I'm in agreement with that.
We'll get,
in regards to
CAO
concerns we have with coal mining, and
we'll get CAO and communications to draft a letter, and then we can have input on it. All right. All right. So unless there's any further discussion on that motion, yes, Councillor Harper. No, you're voting. You're voting too quickly. And I will call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed. And that motion is carried as well. Thank you very much, Councillor Blatz, for bringing that up. And that brings us to our added items for a closed session. So I will just, yes?
First, thank you, Worship. Could I ask Director Linderman a question, please?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's regarding the new rules to accounting procedures on the asset retirement obligations. Have you seen some paperwork on that?
I did see some last year. I do need to refresh on it. I can't remember when it comes into place, but I don't believe it was 2020.
2022, I believe.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, you know, I just don't want to lose track of that, if that's something that we need to be watching and looking into and coming
No,
up.
for sure. I'm on it. No, stuff comes out through our GFOA, which is great. They send all the information to us. So.
Okay, I knew you'd be on top of it.
Excellent.
Thanks.
Thank you. Very good question. All right, so we're going to go into a closed session. So, pardon me? Oh, sorry, Councillor Harper.
Thank you, Your Worship. In reference to the emails that were sent, as part of our correspondence, has administration or the mayor responded to any of these emails? Indicating what direction that we're taking?
We haven't, but we will.
Okay.
Yep.
In reference to the garbage rollout bins,
Mhm.
I know that we had this discussion, and I think this person should be assured that it's part of our budget service level review.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll make
Thank
sure
you.
that is captured in the email returning.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so I can do my spiel here. Closed session and information. When council goes into a closed session, meeting attendees have two options to continue participation in the virtual council meeting. Number one, you may click on leave the meeting button and leave the meeting, and then watch for our Town of Old's website and Facebook page for live updates as to when council will return. Administration will post when the meeting will reconvene, and the meeting attendees are able to rejoin the virtual meeting at that time. Or number two, you can stay on line in our virtual meeting platform, and administration will move the meeting attendees into the waiting room. And when council is done their closed session, we will bring you back into the meeting platform, and you can resume at that point in time. So seeing how this is Councillor Overwater's added item, I'll let you.
Just Mr. Merritt and council.
Okay, just Mr. Merritt and council. So if you could make the motion, please.
Oh, okay. I move to go into a closed session, section 25, disclosure harmful to economic and other interests of a public body. And I just need the CAO Merritt and council, please.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Comments, questions, concerns on that motion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that motion is carried. All right, thank you very much. I'll have Mr. Fox do his magic. And all right. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for being patient with us and allowing us to do our closed session. Don't believe we have a rise in report. So that brings us to the end of our agenda. So who would like to do adjournment? Councillor Blatz wins the hands up contest. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Take care.